Ranger sold his wardrobe. The Lone Ranger sold his bad dog. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know, 'cause times change, I know.
On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, you say. On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, you say. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, you say.
Where every day's a brand new episode. the magic on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show. See the sights, so much to know across the land. Together we go, hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus Show, where every day's a brand new episode on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show.
What up, what up, what up, what up? What up, Twitch? What up, Chef? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, Stampy? What up, tiny people? Well, in my chatterino, it's your boy. What up, though? What is up, though? Where do you rent? Oh, weak. Some of your videos were crap. Okay, so I got a code to use Sora 2, and I've been using Sora 2. So that is a thing. We now have Sora generated alerts for the special numbers. So if you bit that many, spend that many bits, you will get one of the new messages. At least. Exactly. I have them set up so that there'll be like some variation. No, not exactly. Exactly. What up, Hydron? And I was working on trying to get
People are
kind of loud.
people are effing around and finding out. People are
And see, the mouth isn't moving and the audio kind of sucks. I've been working at a bunch of these. This one is really good. It just didn't hit the nice.
Officials have confirmed the total number of reported incidents has climbed from 64 last month to 69 as of today. While the overall trend is still downward compared to last year, the figure marks a slight uptick for October. Officials have confirmed the total number of reported incidents has climbed from 64 last month to 69 as of today. While the overall trend is still downward compared to last year, the figure marks a slight uptick for October. Officials have confirmed the total number of reported incidents.
So yeah, that's what I was doing. But you only get 30 generations per day, and I already hit 30 generations today, so back at it tomorrow. Back at it tomorrow. Anything else? Gonna be streaming on Monday. Next week we'll be doing Tuesday, Thursday, like we're doing this week. So we have some semblance of a schedule. And then Monday. That Monday, we're going to be streaming with Talorcs and like that. What do they count as a generation? Apparently, when I push the button, regardless of whether or not I actually get a generation out of it, apparently. If you look, like this one, puppet with baseball hat and long gray beard says just smoke the weed, kids. It may violate their content policy, probably because I put kids in there. But like today I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, something along those lines. But somehow that counts as 30, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. What up, Textillion? The horror. The horror. All right. Speaking of the horror, new GT.
No, that's not CGI. That is AI. That is an extraordinarily refined robot that's been trained on human micro-expressions. It's supposed to make things less uncanny, although I'm not entirely sure they accomplished it. That does, in fact, just look like a disembodied human face. And is social media making your robot?
No, Chef, it's just a few seconds.
Robot sociopathic? Come join me and we'll talk about AI news and robotics. This comes from forms of AI that are determined to be more and more human-like in their thought and their...
I will say this. I have... Here. Can I duplicate? They're doing this weird thing with the...
No, that's not CGI.
Shush.
That is AI.
Shh, shh,
That...
shh. So I got a hype rate reel that I did for WWE 2K24. I think it was 23 or 24. And I was doing a thing with Paradigm. So I got my wrestler here.
Battle anybody, I don't give a fuck. Fuck 'em up. Keep it crunk.
And I did a screen capture of that and was able to bring it over here and do the good one.
Finally, 420 has returned to the paradigm shift. Finally, 420 has returned to the paradigm shift.
So you can upload an image and have it include you. I can't do the
Finally,
shush. I can't do the cameo because I'm not on iOS. I'm gonna see if I can get it on my old ass iPad and work off that, because if I can do that, then I can put my own face in my own videos, which will be fun. But yeah, just a screen cap of the character was enough that I could use it to generate this video. I think it did a really good job.
operation. Turns out it will probably get you closer to having human-like expressions, to use something that's neuromorphic, so AI modeled around our own brain spiking patterns. The disembodied face, though, comes from a company called Ahead Form, and that is certainly a name. Their ultimate goal is to bridge the gap between robotics and humanity. So this is ELF V1, one of their products. This is probably going to be applied to film or if someone just has a lot of money and really wants a robot, I guess. This is a sign of how refined the technology is becoming, and there's a big push towards putting robotics into our everyday lives. We're getting closer. I mean, after all, in a way, your AI that you use on your phone is incorporating AI into your life. Embodying it is another story. We do, however, have an entirely different issue. Do you guys remember the dot-com bubble burst? That was a bit of a problem, wasn't it? When internet came out and people put a ton of money into it, and then we had lots of companies popping up and people pumped them full of money, and then ultimately it collapsed. We're seeing that with...
And there was no more internet, and we all went back to using regular landline telephones.
AI right now. Yes, it is a monumental shift, just like the internet was a monumental shift. It's still an extraordinarily important part of our lives. However, we are going to see some problems when the bubble bursts completely because AI is experiencing the same issues right now. They are more valuable than they are actually worth, and lots of companies have been propped up. In fact,
value is determined by what people are willing to pay for it, right? There is the labor theory of value, but under the current paradigm, the value is determined by what people are willing to pay for it, right? Like, this is a quarter. It's worth 25 cents because that's what the government says that it's worth. And I can buy an alleged 25 cents worth of something for this. But if I take this, and you've probably seen where people do art and like turn Washington's face into a skull or something like that, then the thing that is 25 cents is now worth more than 25 cents itself. And people will pay 10, 20, 30, however much people charge for a quarter. So, what are the AI companies worth?
while software development is just 6% of our entire US economy, it represents 2/3 of the growth in the last year. That is simply unsustainable. Sorry to burst your...
Why? Not that I don't agree that like capitalism in general is unsustainable and 3% growth is unsustainable and everything else. But why is it unsustainable? Right? Because I can make random claims as well. I can just say that, you should absolutely invest. This is not financial advice. This is not financial advice. This is not financial advice. This is purely for humor. You should absolutely invest every single dollar you have in Figure 03.
Your bubble, we can keep talking about advances.
I don't have to justify that statement. I can just make it.
If you want, a conversation with me is just going to be rapid fire ADHD galaxy brain. It is the way that it is. Some researchers also discovered that you probably have 7 senses, and AI would function better if it has 7 senses. That might sound weird. They were researching both human memory and AI memory, and in simulations they found that having 7 senses would be the best way to hold on to a memory. We don't really have just 5 senses. I mean, yes, there's hearing.
I mean, I hope you do well, Chef, and then you come back and sprinkle a little love on chat.
There's sight, there's touch, there's smell, but we also have varying layers of it. We have proprioception. We understand where our bodies are in space. Lots of animals understand the Earth's magnetic field. We're not entirely sure that we don't, even if it's not actively conscious.
We have the board.
But yes.
Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
They had just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Thank you for the follow. What up, Raiders? What up, Emma? What up, GY Media? I hope I pronounced that correct. AWM 5000, Stellar Wingman. How you doing, homie? Mentally skinny.
I just met you.
This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Thank you for the follow. Mentally skinny.
You'll be
HTC.
back like before. I will fight the fight and win the war.
Stella Wingman back on another month, 6 months. I appreciate you, and I dropped my water. Where was I? HTCPCP418. Welcome in. Jella, how you doing? Dandy McFluffinduck. Love it. Welcome in. Grim FM. It's a ride, isn't it? In it. It's a ride, isn't it? Come round here with all your followers. I can't do an actual any kind of determinate accent. I just kind of babble on like an idiot, and it sounds relatively someplace that's not America, innit? What up, Grim FM? What up, Fidgety Fools Around? What up, Zeltox? I'm gonna go with. What up, Might Be Leaked? Sorry, we don't. The LUL emote doesn't work in this chat. I apologize. What up, Burn Down with Lemons? I love it. I love it. Burn Down with Lemons. Fire it up and everybody shout. Burn Down with Lemons. What up, Aswarp? Ba-boom. Chef merging the tabs. Love to see it. What up, Kai? How you doing, homie? Nah, you're cool. You're cool. Sounds like the accent on the northern hemisphere of Vulcan near the capital. Probably. The general non-American but still native English-speaking accent. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Hi. I'm Globus the Elder, and I talk about automation, AI, robots, future tech, horror. Just got back from an interview, except an exec asked my greatest accomplishment. I said 700-pound leg press. There it is. T-minus the goats. Goats in chat. No, I mean, true, though. True, though, Kai. I'm an investor advisor. I absolutely am not an investor advisor. Nothing I say should be taken as financial advice. I am some random dude on the internet who happens to be good at finding videos about AI and robots and whatnot, and trying to give people the information so that y'all can be prepared. Little Bussy ETF. Step up and get your I know that's is that season 7 of Deep Space Nine? Is that the episode where he teaches the aliens to play baseball? Boxing robots? I never box robots. That is the baseball episode? I thought so. It's my least favorite episode of Deep Space Nine. Oh, so yeah, and I've been developing new little Sora based bit emote redeem. So if anybody wants to play with your bits in chat, feel free. It's the fun numbers, right? If you use the fun numbers, you'll get a fun thing. In the meantime, back to the video.
While developing robots.
We do, you might, and that's fair enough. It's entirely up to you what you condemn. I'm a fan of Sora too. Hank is not. My beard is longer than yours, but yours is grayer. Okay. I don't like vertical videos either. They do look better as alerts, though. There is an option for Sora 2 to be landscape. So if that changes your mind,
It might be best to give them 7 ways of understanding the world around them in order.
my unbans are insane, Kai. I don't look at them. But guess who I did see today, Kai? The one unban that we leave there, the cherished and treasured one.
To have their memory really become functional. In other news, we found out that AIs that are tasked with running
What up, old lobster? No, not you.
social media slowly become sociopathic.
My
Yes,
circuitry's 12 years out of date. I can't keep up with today's high-speed, top-of-the-line kids.
Jaeger, thank you for gifting 3 months of tier 1 to Emma. You, homie,
You
are a
be
beautiful
back.
human being.
Like before, I will fight the fight and win the war.
Ribbons, back for 11 months. Hydran, we have a video on it, and he will tell us. Trans Women, CEO of Trans Women, welcome in. Straight cheeks, guy. Funniest unban request I ever saw was unban me or I will eat your family. Did you unban them? Did you risk it? And how's your family?
Reward them for doing things like getting likes and getting comments, and they engage with followers.
You'll
Their
be
behavior
back.
does
Like before, I will fight the fight and win the war.
T minus the goat back at 15 months. How many grams of protein in your family?
Unfortunately, nobody seems terribly interested in funding my research, but
I am. I will fund your research.
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be cool.
that'd be cool.
Thank you for the hype train. Again, if you have biddies you want to throw, at the thing, the fun special numbers get you special things. Number one son is, my father used to call me number one son, is naturally suspicious and didn't fall for my request that he jump into a vat of barbecue sauce for a dare. Fair. That's a thinker you got there. Chat, go on Discord and recommend some new alert sounds. Also, if you want a Globus voice, let me know and I'll give it a try.
we become antisocial. Now we have found a lot of parallels between how our brains work and how AI works. AI, for example, works really well in operant conditioning. Tell it, good boy.
That was the other thing. That was the other thing, old lobster. We have, what you call it? Channel point redeems, right? And
there was a bunch of nothing, gibberish. Flip flopical, flip topological, flip snobicals. It was a bunch of gibberish, bro.
What up, just me? And sometimes they've been working and sometimes they haven't. Twitch has incorporated channel point redeems into their system. So I'm going to migrate everything from the old system into Twitch's system and see if everything works better, from that point. That is a tardigrade, Bonzilla. That was created by Old Lobster. There are 2 tardigrades in the emotes. We do love some tardigrades. Yeah, no, absolutely, Old Lobster. You got a plushy tardigrade? Dude. That's adorable.
Or don't do that, and they actually respond to it and learn. Either way, whether or not humans become more sociopathic when they engage with social media is a good question. I'm gonna do some reading. I will get back to you. Thank you for joining me. I'll continue to bring you news on a variety of topics.
A recent report from MIT.
Okay. Next up, the AI bubble is worse than you think. And I already know by the less than 1 second that we watch of this stream that he's going to talk about the MIT report, which says 95% of AI initiatives in business fail, bubbles are soap. True. And that means that he didn't actually understand the report he read, and he's just quoting the headlines because it's hilarious.
A recent report from MIT found that 95% of generative AI pilots at companies aren't making money. The study.
Everyone uses the same Fortune article, so that way they don't have to think for themselves, as opposed to going and looking at the actual study or getting an analysis of the study if you don't want to read the study yourself. First of all, an AI pilot program, like a no, but I get the reference. Like in a business decides, okay, we're going to try adding AI to whatever their business practices. First of all, 5% of pilot programs may be high for success rate in companies. I don't know, but I've heard that, right, from other people who are inclined to know such things. But leaving that aside, if you actually read this study, what you find out is that the reason why 95% of them fail is that they haven't gone through the effort of incorporating it into their culture. They are using like standalone, like uses AI to speed up or, increase your capabilities in this area, but not extending it to the other areas. Or they're bringing in some other bespoke AI system where what people really want to use is the ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude that they're comfortable with. I'm getting my analysis from a guy who watches someone else's video about an article that was an op-ed with.
Like before, I will fight the fight and win the war.
Bonzilla back for 4 months. It's the tardigrades, isn't it? The tardigrades. Thank you, Old Lobster. Which was covered on the evening news, and then I watched a Twitch stream explain their take on all of the above while watching the above. I think that's actually true.
We looked at over 300 different deployments, and nearly all of them had little to no measurable impact on profits. And yet, the stock market is hitting all-time highs. So how can something that's supposedly transforming the world not be transforming corporate balance sheets? Well, here's the thing. It's not really about what AI is doing today, it's about what investors believe it'll do in the future. They know the numbers don't add up right now, but it's hoping the billions of dollars that are being poured into AI will eventually.
This is called investment in infrastructure.
Pay off. But recently,
don't trust crop charts. Don't trust charts that just have a line on them without like a well-described XY axis. Like that, yes. Be skeptical of charts.
Those bets have gotten massive and dangerously concentrated.
Can you draw a comparison to the .com era when that bubble popped?
The euphoria that's going on in coastal BC, especially.
That dude is AI. That is a Muppet. That's Frank Oz doing the voice of a CEO. That dude is AI generated.
Around AI, I think.
Which is why Tesla is due for a fall. What a shame, because the entire business value is based on projected innovation that hasn't materialized or has underperformed. Yes, exactly, Old Lobster. There's that. There's also the fact that Tesla has never been a car company. They are a financial tool whereby he can buy and sell carbon credits. Also, his leveraging of his Tesla stock to make other purchases has come as an embarrassment to Tesla from the point of view of investors. So, like, there's a whole bunch of things. Well, Jaeger, I appreciate you. I'm not a fan of wintertime, but I'm glad you are, and I'm glad you get what you.
arguably may be the biggest bubble that we've ever seen in private tech investing in kind of modern times. So as an example, OpenAI had to revise their cost estimates for the next 4.5 years upwards by 250%. So a rounding error, so to speak, of only $80 billion. And it just seems insane to me because if this had been a publicly traded company, the stock would have sold off by 90%. But instead, there are just these breathless storytelling narratives around how all the AI trees are growing to the sky. And I think when the dust settles, whenever this bubble pops, there's going to be tens, if not hundreds of...
Yeah, the temperature on Lake Erie is far too warm for it to freeze before the first expected snowfall. So we're probably going to get a fair amount of lake effect snow this year. If there was any state that I could move to that was better than New York, I might. But they all suck.
Billions of dollars that will literally be incinerated.
The so-called Magnificent Seven, which is the 7 biggest tech companies like Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, and Tesla, now make up roughly 34% of the entire S&P 500. Now, just 10 years ago, that number was barely over 12%. Their valuations are so inflated that a handful of companies now dictate the direction of the entire US market. The Bank of England recently issued a warning about this exact risk. It said the share of the top 5 S&P 500 members is higher than at any point in the last 50 years, and that AI-focused valuations appear particularly stretched.
And hey, maybe it is a bubble. Maybe it is a bubble. I'm just not seeing the underlying reasoning why it's a bubble.
If expectations around AI's potential start to cool,
yeah, that's the thing. Like I crossed Michigan off my list back in the 90s when Michigan militia was a phrase that was getting tossed around. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, so the idea of moving to Patriots country is probably not gonna happen.
The ripple effects could be felt across global markets.
That'd be super cool, Aswarp.
And that's because for the average investor, I mean anyone with a 401k, an index fund, or a retirement account, you're far more exposed to this AI bubble than you might think. The economy itself, at least in the US, is being propped up by optimism surrounding AI. And the concerning thing in my eyes is if you remove this AI hype, or even reevaluate it downwards, the economy is not looking too hot. Unemployment is rising, inflation is still sticky, and the necessities like housing are still out of reach for millions of Americans. Now, according to...
Why is all that? Is that related to AI, or is there some other factor that is contributing to that thing? My daughter lives in Rochester, nowhere near the same snowfall. No, because they're away from the lakes. So, yeah. I'm not looking at states, I'm looking at other countries. Yeah, no. I have no plans currently to move. However,
Morgan Stanley, AI infrastructure spending by major tech firms, companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta, have grown so large that it's now adding roughly a full percentage point to US GDP growth, which they say outstrips the rate of underlying consumer spending growth by tenfold. And they anticipate the big tech companies will spend somewhere in the range of $400 billion on AI investments in 2025 alone. So right now, the AI economy runs on a simple assumption. If big tech keeps spending billions on data centers, GPUs,
investing in infrastructure. There's an important difference between spending and investing in infrastructure, right? Like, if we removed AI from the equation and it was your local government spending on infrastructure, that's different than your local government spending money on whatever the fuck, right? Like, if your local government had a, you know, like a boat slip, and they dredged that out and spent hundreds of $1,000s to dredge that out in the hopes that people will take their boats for the 3 or 4 months a year when people have their boats on the lake and bring them near to your area in order to take advantage of those tourism dollars. You might describe that as spending. But investing in actual infrastructure that everyone can benefit from would be a different story. I'm not saying everyone can invest in AI or can benefit from AI infrastructure, but I think a lot more people can than do.
Research and talent, eventually it'll all pay off. These companies would rather spend billions and be wrong than spend less and miss out on the potential opportunity. But with mounting evidence that most of these projects aren't profitable and valuations soaring far beyond fundamentals, it's fair to ask, is this bubble going to pop? The answer to that question is obviously subjective, but in my opinion,
Obviously.
yes, absolutely.
And who the fuck are you?
In fact, it's not a matter of if, it's when. And here's why. First, we got to talk about how these consumer-facing AI products like ChatGPT and Gemini just aren't very good. And the improvements that they've made since their release just a few years ago doesn't seem to be that spectacular.
Entirely subjective.
Certainly not to the levels where it's capable of replacing millions of jobs. But I'll come back.
Again, phrasing it as replacing jobs allows you to obfuscate the actual potential danger to employment, which is replacing tasks. Because if I don't need as many people to do the same tasks, then I don't need many employees. What up, Pezzy? Are Elon's Memphis gas turbines considered AI infrastructure? Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, yes. And on that note, you're 100% correct. Elon is a terrible human being, doesn't care about other people, especially if those other people are not white and rich, and therefore everything he touches turns to shit.
To that in a moment. See, when you take a closer look at the financials behind this AI economy, things begin to look even worse. OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT, estimates their revenue.
That's a bold statement as work, but you know, I feel it.
Will be somewhere in the $12 to $13 billion range this year. Now, in the first half of 2025, according to news outlet The Information, their revenue was $4.3 billion. And yet, at the same time, they reported a net loss of $13.5 billion. So they are a long way away from profitability. Now, for tech companies in particular, this sort of playbook in the past has worked. They get a massive user base built up, they burn through a ton of money, and eventually, after they scale it, they become a monopoly that dominates the market. And OpenAI bulls will say, hey, they aren't even using ads yet. Once they implement ads into ChatGPT, they will start making money like crazy. And maybe that's true, but in the meantime, there's an increasingly insane amount of circular deals that are...
Yeah, Chef. That I feel like that's an important consideration to take into consideration.
Are going on in between these tech companies. NVIDIA invests in OpenAI, OpenAI turns around and invests in NVIDIA, OpenAI invests in Oracle, then AMD invests in OpenAI. Often this is going on with money that OpenAI doesn't even have and likely never will. Now, for some of the more established big tech companies, they might be okay here if things fall flat. That doesn't mean ripple effects won't be felt. But for a smaller company like OpenAI, I think some of the deals that they're announcing are...
There's a lot of qualifiers in this, I feel should...
particularly concerning. And for many people, it's really what's signaling the top here. Now, even with something like ChatGPT, if you don't actually know the answer to the question you're asking it, it feels less like a tool and more like a detriment. I swear it has a 50-50. Even with something like ChatGPT, if you don't actually know the answer to the question you're asking it, it feels less like a tool and more like a detriment.
if I already know the answer, then why why am I using the tool?
I swear it has a 50
I swear
50 chance it will be wrong when you ask it something.
Oh, I have no idea, Chef. He's just running his mouth.
The other day I asked it if I could turn down the sound of this annoying dinging noise that was in this car that I was driving that wasn't mine. ChatGPT's response was like, absolutely you can do it, here's how. But as I read through the
Can you show me the prompt of your anecdote?
answer, I strongly sensed that what it was saying was actually incorrect. And this is because I had already Google searched it and read up on a forum from other owners of the vehicle, and they basically said you can't do it, at least not legitimately, through the infotainment screen. So when I pushed ChatGPT,
And what was the annoying dinging sound? Was it you didn't have your seatbelt on or something like that?
a little bit further and said, are you sure that's right? It was like, oh, you're right to push back. Actually, you can't do that. And what you can do instead is this. But by then I was already skeptical and I'm thinking that also doesn't sound right either. So I push again. Are you sure? And it was like, oops, you're right. I don't know why I said that. You can't do either of those things, but here's what you can do instead. And once again listed something else.
It sounds like he has terrible prompts.
Else that probably wasn't true. But by then I was already checked out. And I know ultimately this is just an anecdote out there. Many of you might have similar stories where something like this happened, or maybe you found it to be incredibly helpful. But just imagine you were a business and your business paid for some generative AI to assist employees or customers. And when it was faced with something to solve, it was not only wrong, but more than once it was wrong. And then imagine the type of consequence that could come from something like this.
And imagine some other straw man that I will build up to tell you exactly how bad things are. Even though I'm not actually presenting evidence, I'm using straw men.
Especially if the employee or the customer didn't actually know that the answer it was given was incorrect.
I don't know, as work, if I'm not welcome in a space, I don't give a fuck.
Now, in some cases, it could be rather innocuous, like my example. But in other cases, it could cost
You'll be back like before. I will fight the fight and win the war.
What up, Pharaoh? Thank you for the 8 months, homie.
The business thousands of dollars if a wrong answer was further acted upon. Now, I know at the same time a human error could be capable of the very same thing. But if AI is supposed to boost productivity and be the next breakthrough for our economy, then why does it feel like on rather simple issues, it actually just...
Why does it feel like that? Because you're a dipshit who can't do a prompt and you're not sharing your prompts. I would help you. If you actually want to solve your problem, I will help you.
Waste time. I also want to be clear, this isn't like some outlier that I had. It happens all the time when I...
Because you're a terrible prompter.
I try to test these products. And if you're using Gen AI to get answers, whether that's at work or school, I'd urge you to be careful because oftentimes it's not only wrong, it's
Karl Marx, brother of Richard Marx.
Confidently wrong, and it won't admit it to you unless you truly know that it's wrong. Interestingly, the inverse is also true though. It could give you a correct answer about something, and then you might be able to still convince it that it's actually wrong.
But why would you do that? Just to be a dipshit?
So how the fuck is this supposed to...
Woo! The language. The language. I'll do the swearer out here, buddy. What up, Ben? Ben, I added options to the fun number bit redeems.
Rewire
just for you, buddy.
Our entire economy. If it can't even give correct information, it struggles to do simple tasks, and worst of all, it's overly confident every time it gives you an answer about something.
Well, so are you, and I don't know what to do. Pronouncing you're from Atlanta. Coral.
I mean, I'm not saying it can't do anything right, or that the technology will be 100% useless, but what I can't understand is this notion that it will somehow be this great big thing for our economy.
Well, seriously, just hit me up. I'll use small words.
The way I
Oh, no, Ben. There are new ones between today and last stream.
I see it as if it even does reach this level where it becomes ubiquitous, how on earth will that be good for the economy then? It's widely agreed by many.
Not that I'm like e-begging or anything. You're the one who does the biddies of those numbers, and and if you want to. What up, Johnny Prophet? Does this guy own a grill? No. This guy does Uber Eats. Not against anybody doing Uber Eats, but that's all he does. And occasionally he goes out. He lives in a gray apartment. Have you heard this song, the I'm blue, da boo dee da boo da? That song where he talks about living in a house.
Sources confirm the latest tally lands squarely at 69. Analysts say the figure is holding steady with no immediate signs of change. Interpretations vary, but one consensus has emerged. Nice.
Nice. Thank you for the biddies. I'm leaning into the whole Muppet thing. There's going to be an influx of not Muppet, because Muppet offends the algorithm that watches your prompts. Puppets. I'm doing puppets.
Many experts that if that is the case.
Oh, the thing with the I'm blue. This guy lives in a little gray house in his gray world, and is that a picture of Donald Trump on his wall, or just a different orange blob? Like, he has zero decoration in his background.
Fewer jobs will then be available, and the companies that run these models will just be making even more money than now. Now, I know there's people out there who will try to make the case that newer jobs will pop up, like history has proven, during previous times of innovation. But that's not something I'm personally comfortable with resting my laurels on. And when these tech CEOs throw out the idea of universal basic income becoming a solution to the problem that they're creating...
Is that true, Grim FM? Or are you an LLM confidently giving me wrong information?
I want you to think about just how divided the US government already is on so many issues. Like, we can't even get an agreement on healthcare. We have politicians fear-mongering that people are getting free healthcare as they sit in their parents'
What up, Maddie? Why resting my laurels on sounds gross? Resting on your laurels? Better that than someone else's laurels?
basement, unemployed, playing video games. Do you think the same politicians are going to agree to give out universal basic...
Oh, he's a dipshit, Maddie. He's a dipshit.
Income because AI has taken millions of entry-level jobs? I don't, but I do actually have a great idea. See, if AI is supposed to be this incredible breakthrough, why don't we start from the top down? Let's have the CEOs be replaced by AI first, and then...
Nice. Yeah, I can't say I ever looked at the lyrics, but absolutely.
see if that saves the company millions of dollars. If it does, they can then take all that money that the CEO used to make and disperse that to all the workers. In all seriousness though, when this bubble does pop, it'll be felt around the world. And I don't mean that to sound overly dramatic, because it literally will. But don't worry, the CEOs will be fine. Their golden parachutes are already packed. But what won't be fine are the ripple effects, the retirement accounts, the job losses, and the energy footprint we've built chasing this illusion. We're already building data centers that pollute local water supplies and drive up our electric bills. Also, someone can generate an AI slop video that no one asked for? I mean, if that isn't one of the most asinine generate, pollute local water supplies, and drive up our electric bills. Also, someone can generate an AI slop video that no one asked for?
Well, first, at least one person asked for it. And second, humans generate all sorts of slop video that I didn't ask for. And we've watched a bunch of them. And this might be one of them. What up, Cosmic? No, yeah, slop.
I mean, if that isn't one of the most asinine things going on right now, I don't know what is. But here's the deal. If I'm wrong about all of this and there isn't a bubble, then what's coming might be even worse. A global economy reshaped by automation with job losses that make the pandemic look like light work, and a world so flooded with synthetic content that people won't even know what's real anymore. Now, if you want to learn more about that topic, well, I covered it in this video here, so please check it out next.
See, they just regurgitate. Yes. What up, Leftist Corp? They just regurgitate the same content. You want to talk about slop? Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone, in my humble opinion, has the right and privilege to produce whatever kind of video content that they want, and they can post it to YouTube, right? But it is filled with people having the same hot takes on the same content, and we're not going to watch it because I have enough brain rot to get through today. But I guarantee you, similar to the way at the beginning of this video, I told you how he was starting off the whole thing and that he didn't understand what he was quoting. I could probably predict everything that he says in this video before we even hit play on it. Because they all say the same fucking 5 to 7 things. Speaking of, AI bubble go pop.
Oh, hello there. You just joined me during breakfast. What a surprise. Just come around whenever you want. No problem.
That's a lot of natty light to have opinions on stuff.
The other day, I read an interesting headline. You know, while you're here drinking my milk. The AI bubble is the only thing keeping the US economy together, Deutsche Bank warns.
And why is a person from England, I think, drinking natty light?
The subline, when the bubble bursts, reality will hit far harder than anyone expects. I read it and thought, but then I thought, anyone? I'm an anyone. This better not affect me. Because then I will care.
Aussie, sorry. Correct.
Clicking the link in TechSpot in order to find the full client note led me to Fortune, which led me to Fortune, which led me to Bain. Then a Google search brought up Apollo. Back to Fortune, back.
Then, wait. Because back in the day, back in the Crocodile Dundee days, some of us drank Foster's, right? And the reason that we drank Foster's was that it was in this big can. And it's fun to drink out of a big can. Also fun to drink out of a small can, but it's even more fun to drink out of a big can. But real Aussies that I have conversed with say that Foster's is trash. It was also very cheap. Yes. They say that Foster's is trash and you shouldn't drink it. Okay. So I assume that Aussies don't generally drink Foster's. So here's someone who is not drinking Foster's and they're drinking Natty Light. And again, like, I'm just feeling some kind of way.
Back to Bain. Wait, was it TechSpot or TechRadar or TechBox Crunch? Why do all these websites exist? They're all the same. Why do I exist? Then a more direct search.
That was the most honest question any of these people have asked. Why do I exist?
Which got me to Deutsche Bank, where if I clicked on any of the thumbnails, the page refreshed and randomized the thumbnail orders and opened nothing. Then I got onto George Sharavelos' page on Deutsche Bank's site. So I kept looking for direct quotes, but I knew I wasn't going to find anything when second page results included the single word chubby. In fact, this chubby guy kept on coming up. Seems to me that Chubby, when it comes to fintech analysis, is pretty clued up. So I kept going a bit more into the recesses of Deutsche Bank's unloved website, clearly just a charade of a website that exists purely because they know it would be weird not to have a website, but also that no real person would ever want to engage with their website, no matter how good of a website said website. And I can now conclude I don't even know.
Okay, he's at least funny. And right at the point where I was getting to the say website again, he self-acknowledged the joke. So I have respect. What up, Noah?
If George Saravelos or the client note even exist. Here he is on Bloomberg, but does Bloomberg even exist? I'm inclined to think that this quote is real, but I don't want to bring the Middle East into this. But I have to question why I can't find a scan of the actual note and the accreditation is circular. I mean, I know, it's because journalism is shit. But, it all is, isn't it? And yes, no, yes, there's a lot of chatter online right now, when I made this soon-to-be-aged video, about the AI bubble bursting. The skinny is that without investment in AI infrastructure, the US economy would be, could be, will be, teetering, skipping, or maybe even pole vaulting into recession, as AI companies continue to receive colossal investments from all across the financial scumguard. OpenAI is now worth $500 billion, despite an operating loss of $7.8 billion and a cash burn of $2.5 billion in the first half of 2025, against revenues of $4.3 billion. And while its revenue is growing, its losses are growing faster.
He actually quoted, "Where's your ed at?"
And while its
shakes his tiny fist.
Revenue is growing, its losses are growing faster. Behind them is Anthropic, a private company, which is set to lose $3 billion this year, less than they ever have, and while they might be closer to meeting the all-important actually make some fucking money rule that underpins the entire existence of present-day
Actually, that rule does not underpin the entire existence of present-day mankind. That's part of the thing. Ever since Amazon proved that you could run at a loss for decades, and people would still support you and invest in your company and etc. Yeah. I'm looking at Uber, I'm looking at Lyft, I'm looking at Grubhub, I'm looking at all of it, right? Like it all operates using VC capital to survive the place that used to kill a normal company back in the day. It just ain't like that anymore, bro. I don't know what to tell you. You can't look at like the 80s and 90s and use that as a model for what's happening today.
Mankind, they're not growing as fast as OpenAI. At the same time, Deutsche Bank notes, in a report I actually could find, written by people other than the elusive Saravello, master of financial mysticism, the AI bubble's bubble has popped, i.e., people are not only necessarily over AI, some aren't, but some are, but they're overhearing about the AI bubble, making this one of my most topical videos. Importantly, although this particular report is a bit more optimistic than the reported report of Saravello.
Where have all these people been, Leftist Corp? That's legitimately my point, right? Like, unlike a lot of those companies, these investments are at least creating some kind of tangible asset, where a lot of the stuff since the dot-com era is software, right? Fundamentally, software, right? So like there's nothing physical about it. So you just buy everything on the servers and shutter the company and auction everything off. Yes, Pharaoh. Now ask Deutsche Bank about its connection to SCOTUS Justice Kennedy and why he retired when he did, on top of it, hustling money from Russia to various other people and businesses around the world. And a certain former game show host who's What's he doing nowadays? I know his friend died, and that was sad for him. Who's that guy? He said, "You're fired." That was his claim to fame, and I'm sure he's probably just enjoying his life on a yacht or something, right?
It does mention that this doesn't mean that there isn't an AI bubble and it won't pop. They point out that Bloomberg started calling the .com craze a serious bubble 16 months before it popped.
Now that I've gotten on the internet, I'd rather be on my computer than doing just about anything.
Using somewhat couched language, this report, and by the way, Deutsche, could you not have just had another line break here? A title at the very bottom of the page. Who does that? The report says, evidence is still emerging where the dollars and cents values will come. FinCorp lingo for, yes, but beyond coding, how does your meme generator make money? We bank, we money. Or even more boiled down,
The meme generator that he was saying about making money came from a time before all of this, right? Is your egg on drugs?
we haven't seen solid evidence this will make money. That's what we want. Also, the report mentions the Gartner hype cycle of innovation.
Just kill me. Just absolutely murder me in my sleep. Just hold a pillow over my face until I stop breathing if one more motherfucker mentions the goddamn Gartner hype cycle.
Inflated expectations, disillusionment, enlightenment, and finally new productivity, and baselessly speculates that early humans probably had the same reaction to the wheel. The logic of that bit I briefly want to go on about, like a lunatic, if you will. And you will, won't you, Will? Surely the wheel was not invented by a single person. Surely even it wasn't invented at all. Did someone invent doors, or do humans just inherently know that a piece of wood can block out the wind? People made wheels when they needed wheels, probably just logs first. That's what I'd guess. In a way where I seriously doubt anyone thought of it as an invention. Like not crapping next to where you eat wasn't hailed as a great social innovation.
Like, when did not when did people first invent something? Obviously, like the wheel, or the stick and rock as a hammer, whatever. Not when did they invent something, but when did they first make an invention? Right? When did someone first become an inventor? It's like my job. What do? I invent things. Leftist Corp going off on an entire other like in general. Like when was that a job? You know what I mean? The monolith millions of years ago. Fair. No. That's why I was saying, Maddie, not when did someone invent something, right? Like not the stick and rock. I'm talking about when did someone say that they were an inventor, right? Like when did that become like a job classification? It was sometime in the power structure era, you know what I mean? Like an Archimedes type, right? Did he refer to himself as an inventor, and the things he made as inventions, right? Like, it was that a thing, or did it happen later? I'm just wondering.
But I do enjoy the idea of Urgelbar going over to Korkor's cave and being like, is that it? Is that your pitiful invention? I thought you said it was going to be round. You've not even put an axle on it, Korkor, you fucking dipshit. All you got there is a fucking irregular circle. Now lend me a Game Boy. So that annoyed me. But, on the other hand, they did quote Shania Twain, which is very cool.
Well, it's very hip to...
What up, Astral Storm?
be on the internet right now.
Especially the general feeling from the respectable pant-wearing human zone is
I think we lost something at Astral Storm when scientists stopped referring to themselves as philosophers. Philosophers used to do all the things. And then people became more specialized, and now they don't philosophize enough.
is this better work because it doesn't look like it's working yet, but we have no other ideas, so we'll let you keep your knees for now. In respect to kicking the can of production limits down the road. It's not like I'm saying that AI isn't useful. It is and will be.
They always do that too. They always do that. They eventually get to the point where they say, I'm not saying that AI won't be useful. I'm not saying that AI doesn't have uses. I'm not saying all AI is bad. I mean, I've just prefaced my entire arguments up until this point on saying that AI is bad, but that's not what I'm saying.
Useful, but the internet was and is very useful, and the dot-com bubble was still a thing. Yeah, it's a bubble. There's always a bubble, and they often seem to revolve around the idea that whatever product is bubbling will somehow set people free. The internet will set you free. Biotech will set you...
I mean, I'm literally, again, I've told this anecdote a million times. What up, Krail? I am currently, at this point in time, in this particular location, engaging with people from around the country and the world, and having conversations and having a fun time, and we're shooting the shit. So, to an extent that you can have freedom under capitalism, then my illusions, Pharaoh, are just that much more intense. If this isn't freedom under capitalism, I don't know what is.
You free. Crypto will set you free. AI will blah 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 blah. Before you know it, you'll be working a 3-day week, and that's when the existential questions will really eat in. AI will increase productivity in places. When has that ever meant less work? If your productivity increases by 300%, you know your workload will be pushed 400%. Because if it isn't, someone else will put up their workload and outgun you. That's how this whole thing fucking works. Productivity has gone up for decades, and the Jetsons, we fucking ain't. AI, which these impressive but oversold models are not, reminds me of the sci-fi...
There it is. There it is. This isn't AI. I won't tell you what I believe AI is, but this isn't it.
misnomer of infinite energy.
And Maddie, what's going on is there's a Australian who's drunk off of Natty Light, and he is turned on his camera to create a YouTube video. And it's going about as well as you would expect.
Setting you free. All the energy in the universe cannot make potash or oil or land suitable for industrial agriculture, and the best AI in the world is not going to fix siding to houses or pull people's teeth. Maybe it will really help transform the digital world. Well, good. But there are limits. Ha ha. The AI bubble is interesting to me not because it's a bubble. Human existence is a fucking bubble. It's the desperation. What do you do when you can't grow out? You try to grow up. And I have a biased feeling that this signifies a sickly acceptance that our grip on sustained growth is ever more tenuous, and that the next bubbles will surely be hyped with the same set you free glee, but will in fact be quite a bit dark. Buy your water speculation certificates, it'll set you free. As we sell shares for water like we're Max Bialystock.
If you think about the economic value being created by these people, and how much we're all spending on compute, maybe the market stays like this. I'm not.
As we're AI will pull people's teeth better than any living human. The last 2 times I had to get teeth pulled, the first guy couldn't get it out without, he was at the point, I can't inject you with any more Novocaine. The second guy made kind of a mess of things. Because, as I was unaware of, his office was going to stop accepting my insurance somewhere between the teeth pulling and denture providing step. So that was cool. The very last person to technically pull a chunk of my tooth that the previous guy left in didn't charge me for it. I think he felt bad. I think he really felt bad. And now I got fake teeth.
I'm not totally sure what's gonna happen.
Every time I've searched for how AI is actually productive, the same answers come up. Some coding tasks, not all. Data entry, data analysis, auto spreadsheet, data topping, data bottoming, data and Geordie, data solo. Polish slides for your presentation quickly, you shit. Get answers you can't trust, slightly faster than an unshitified Google. I can totally see AI being useful for those things. How much of the economy actually is just those things? I know it's a lot, but how fucking much, really? Finally, efforts to branch out of AI do data good have, I would argue, not been very successful. There's this example of a new AI actress trying to get representation somehow, like the idea of it getting the same wage as a real person doesn't entirely undercut the point of AI. Like, yeah, we were going to do a Toy Story TV series, but Buzz Lightyear wants a 4% cut. Like, oh what, I'm going to film a scene with real actors, but then have someone in a green man suit that will digitize this actor in?
I mean, maybe, but no. And it's not like they don't literally already do that. Like, if you're a fan of Suicide Squad, the movies, and the Peacemaker TV show, John Economos, if you didn't know, was the body double for King Shark. The voice was done by Sylvester Stallone for some reason. But the actor who played John Economos wore a suit. And then they digitized a giant shark person over the top of it. But this is a bridge too far.
Like what? That's what actors need for better performances, to not know what they're looking at even more. It's tried and true. Tried and true. What are people saying about this? Tilly Norwood doesn't need a hairstylist, has no regrettable posts.
This was the article that we didn't cover because Tyler Cohen is a creep. And to know that, I just needed to read that byline.
And if you wish to see a virgin on screen, this is one of your better chances. That's because she's AI. What the fuck is this? Tilly Norwood is the actress I most want to see on the big screen, or perhaps the little screen, if she gets her own TV show. She is beautiful, but not too intimidating. She has a natural smile, and is just the right amount of British. Jesus Christ. Well, that's a fucking turn off. A touch exotic, Britain being very exotic, but still familiar with her posh accent. Her Instagram has immaculate standards of presentation. While I was going through it, looking for fodder, I didn't see a single hint of a boyfriend. What fucking cretin wrote this? It must be someone who's a complete moron, an absolute basement to a... Oh. Tyler Cohen is Holbert L. Harris Chair of Economics at George Mason University.
So a moron.
He has a PhD in economics. This is like something I'd have written when I was 20 under the name Damien's blog about how I'm so sexually frustrated per se. Penelope Cruz, I'd be her toilet, writes Damien.
Tilly Norwood on Instagram has 63,000 followers. Oh yeah, no, Ben, that's why we didn't really need to cover this article at all. But one of the things people have a challenge in dealing with is when it comes to, like, if you're an AI skeptic or whatnot, is the fact that what if people actually enjoy the slop? What if people actually like that kind of thing? That's a problem for you, isn't it?
My name's Damien Benedict, and I'm a
Eswarb, the idea of getting a tooth pulled while on mushrooms sounds horrifying.
sick fuck. See my CV enclosed. Jesus Christ, it is real. Sorry to bring the Middle East up again. Professor Tyler Cowan, seen here in this 15-year-old picture, wants to see more virgins in movies. Tyler, what the fuck?
What up, Brad?
These are our economists. Vast minds, best and brightest. Horny, horny, horny. Do you see now why the world will burn? But hell, maybe we'll get lucky. Not with AI setting us free so that we can live lives of luxury on digital clouds, getting blowjobs from robots that can't leave us. But maybe it'll actually shake things up. You know, oh, when the bubble bursts, reality will hit far harder than anyone expects. Well, I have a pretty vivid imagination. 8 billion person deathmatch, where the primary munition and armor is babies. Oh, I'd have died just then when I got machine gunned with a 1200 baby per minute heavy machine gun, but luckily I was wearing my baby. On the bad side, I'm going to need a new baby. Is it going to be worse than that? Is it going to be worse than a dude calling himself Hannibal Holocaust, controlling the eastern seaboard, and he's the more interesting alternative because everywhere else, $7 an egg. Disney dollars.
See, when he's funny, he makes me laugh, like legitimately laugh.
Too. They're worth 50 to 1 on the, you know, to the dollars. I'm going to go now, or rather, you know, someone is. Let me walk you out. Let me walk you out, and then I will lock the door, and then I will walk around the block, and I will come back, and I will close the curtains. See you next time.
All right. Well, that was interesting. What's up next? Some of you may know that I have personal feelings around JT. As one of my trans friends asked in a comment on one of their videos, you know, about something having to do with what was in the video and, you know, how it would affect marginalized people, something to that effect. And he told them to eat glass because JT is a fucking scumbag. Anyways, here's his new video, Second Thought.
We are joined now once again by friend of the show, Paris Marks.
Paris Marks, author of The Road to Nowhere and also host of the podcast Tech Won't Save Us.
Look, the system identified that this is a potential target, and so of course the system must be right, and this justifies us targeting this apartment building or going after this person and their family or whatever, right? And nobody's actually going to go check it because, you know, whether it's accurate or not, in that case, I would argue doesn't matter.
If the human being is in the loop, you will lose. You can have human supervision. You can watch over what the AI is doing. If you try to intervene, you're going to lose.
Silicon Valley's looking a little different these days. If the 2010s was corporate art, pride logos, and nap pods, now it's more like...
I sometimes hate the enemies of Palantir. I'm gonna fuck these people.
I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right?
You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know. I would.
People want to live in peace. They want to go home. They do not want to hear your woke pagan ideology. They want to know they're safe. And safe means that the other person is scared. That's how you make someone safe.
No. Making someone else scared does not make someone else safe. That's literally not how any of that works. It's actually the opposite. What up, humanity? If both parties feel safe, then neither party has to feel scared.
There's been a big shift in the valley. A shift.
And also the obvious Nazi dipshit here.
In attitude, yes, as all these guys conveniently became Republicans, but more concerning, a shift in what they think the point of Silicon Valley is.
If you go back and think of like the earlier days of Google, and you had this slogan of "Do no evil."
What up, Segfaults? Just silence all dissenters and there's no dissenters. Exactly. That works 100% of the time.
Was the way that they kind of like represented themselves to the world, right? They wanted to look like they were a force for good by using this technology to like improve people's lives and stuff like that. Of course, they threw off that slogan a number of years.
Excuse me. And the safe in that scenario, old lobster, always has to go and increase that security, because they are going to be more and more concerned about those people who are scared coming for their stuff. Right? They are always worried about the people coming for their stuff. So then they're not safe anymore. So then they have to increase the security. Round and round we go. Safety is an illusion anyway. Rocks fall from the sky. The trick is to minimize the dangers we can predict. Yes. Silicon Valley probably leans whoever gives them the most tax break and regulations. That's the Republicans now by far. Yes.
Ago,
Silicon Valley is going back to its roots, and that's building the tech of the American empire.
An entire generation of extraordinarily talented engineers in Silicon Valley will not hesitate to dedicate their working lives to building, online shopping algorithms, the consumer apps on our phone. But when a U.S. Marine asks for a better software system, they hesitate.
But first, it's ad read time, because God knows we're not making any money from YouTube AdSense. Thank you, Google. Skip ahead to this timestamp if you...
Thanks. I appreciate that, JT. Oh yeah, it's a little dot.
Now, back to the show. This all starts with AI. Generative AI.
That was perfect.
AI has been in our lives and in our faces for about 3 years now.
ChatGPT.
And we've always known it sucked, from stealing...
Did we? Did we know that, JT? Did we know that?
ChatGPT.
And we've always known it sucked, from stealing from artists and writers...
Nothing was stolen.
...to getting people laid off, to data centers poisoning and...
JT would like people to continue working until they die, apparently. I wonder if he supports the same one man, one dog at every factory policy that Hasanabi does.
Entire towns and, the flood of Ghibli rips. AI really hasn't made anybody's life any better.
Sorry, chat. I know not all of you are fans of AI, and again, that's absolutely fine. But there are some of you I know that are under the false impression that AI was actually helping you. Sorry, you're wrong.
Live Memory can take your old photo and voila, turn it into a video.
But but it's worse now. In the last year, military tech and military AI especially has become the hottest new thing in the Valley. Everybody who's in AI and realizing they're in a bit of a bubble is looking for the best way to keep the air and cash coming in. And you don't need to look.
I think that the AI bubble is the AI skeptics version of the rapture, right? They're absolutely certain. What up, Tenacious Liege? They are absolutely certain it's coming. They don't know when. They can't predict it. But when it does, it will validate all their concerns, etc., etc.
Very far to find the biggest checkbook in the country. For the first time in a while, tech is betting its survival on facilitating death and destruction openly. Last year, Y Combinator, the startup incubator behind things like Reddit and DoorDash, backed a weapons manufacturer for the first time ever, some company building missiles for cheap. One of the biggest VCs in Silicon Valley is promising $500 million for whoever comes up with the best new defense tech. And most importantly, all the big players, OpenAI, Meta, Google, they're all getting into it too. Recently, they've all quietly deleted the bits in their usage.
I understood that reference, Astral Storm. That's one of my favorite memes. And the idea pops into my head so often.
Policies that said their AI tools can't be used for military purposes and have turned a huge chunk of their resources to getting more defense contracts. Just to give you an idea, here's a bunch of AI CTOs and CROs officially being sworn in as lieutenant colonels in the US Army, pledging allegiance to the American military mission and enlisting. Enlisting themselves, sure, but really the companies they represent. And on the one hand, we shouldn't be that surprised.
Most of us in this chat are not surprised. If you are at all surprised, you should probably reassess your political analysis. It is a little thing called the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower talked about. Chef might be surprised.
Since the election, we've seen the tech industry get really cozy with the Trump admin and broing it up on Rogan. Since this is a government that loves war, these guys would follow along. But there's more to this than a new haircut and a dinky little chain. They're not just playing the culture war game to get conservative. These guys would follow along. But there's more to this than a new haircut and a dinky little chain. They're not just playing.
I guess no comment is necessary.
The culture war game to get conservatives off their back. They want to get deep in the actual war game. Like, take Meta. Meta's AI, Llama, that I've never heard of anybody using, but whatever, has cost the company billions of dollars in R&D. That's a big investment into a thing that, by and large, has very little use to most people and that hardly anyone is paying for. Last year, though, Meta released this announcement. We are pleased to confirm that we are also...
How many is hardly anyone? Because my understanding, even if you don't think that $4.3 billion in revenue for OpenAI is sufficient for them to continue what they're doing, $4.3 billion is a lot of money.
Making Llama available to U.S. government agencies, including those that are working on defense and national security applications. The memo goes on to say that, as well as the government itself, Llama would be going to the government's top military contractors, like Lockheed Martin and Anduril, for whom they're making military VR glasses, and companies that provide other services for the DoW, like Oracle and Palantir. And Meta aren't the only ones. OpenAI is kind of doing the same thing, making anti-drone AI with Anduril, writing a whole AI action plan for the US, and knitting a closer relationship with the big boys by recruiting as many people as possible from the military wing of the government. People from the DOW, the CIA, the NSA, the Pentagon, and Special Ops all now work with Sam Altman. But the worst offender has to be Palantir. Their names come up a few times.
Yeah, no, it, yeah, I don't want to, you know, like, point to the person who did it, but it is, it's a fucking thing, right? Like, I'm sure that JT gets a lot of hate in his comments and like that. It doesn't excuse his behavior. He can fuck right off with that shit. Legitimate critique. If you consider yourself untouchable, then you're just that much more of a person who needs to be fucking addressed.
In this video already, and if you've been paying attention to the news...
Exactly. Like, if you didn't like what they said, you could just ignore it.
A lot more this past year. Their stock's gone up like 400% since last fall, and there are guys getting on TV like every other day. They're getting multi-million-dollar contracts with ICE and multi-billion-dollar contracts with the Army. And unlike these other companies who've done most of this pro-military stuff in the background to try to keep up their whole making the world a better place and oh, we just make chatbots facade, Palantir has been much more explicit that killing people and making them suffer is the whole point.
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
How? Like, what does Palantir actually do? Basically, software that makes it easier to parse through a lot of data. If you're the police, the government, or the army, and you have data from different systems not well organized, or just mountains and mountains of stuff from decades of surveillance, it's usually not obvious what to do with all that. Palantir's pitch is that their AI is there to help you see how everything connects, and then automates decisions about what happens next. In immigration, that means putting together profiles of every immigrant in the US, with everything from border entry dates, visa status, home address, tax records, social media, known relationships, and past experiences with law enforcement, and then making a list for ICE agents of where to go and when. In the case of war, it means doing pretty much the same thing by combining, say, spyware data with surveillance footage.
I don't know that it's that deep with ICE. It could be. It could be. I don't know how tech involved their, you know, the upper echelons. They're not Christy Nome, the people who actually like manipulate that particular arm of the military industrial security apparatus. I feel like a lot of what ICE does is go to particularly likely places and then just harass people. What up, Digital? This guy's failing to mention that Palantir successfully sold its product to a whole slew of Fortune 500 companies that are feeding it data so it can predict markets out of market available data based on, say, feedstock at a major oil company being depleted before that oil company shares that information with the world. Super, super shady and super big brother. It's not even the military that's the problem. I mean, it's part of the problem, but yes, 100%. Right? Like anywhere where you're analyzing vast amounts of data, AI is going to be a thing these days. And Palantir is really good at what they do, which isn't great what they do, but they're good at it. What up, Larry? They have the data to make slightly better market predictions. That's a big edge. Yes.
And facial recognition software, and then making a kill list.
Yeah, exactly.
Then somebody, or more and more often, some drone running on another AI model, will go out and kill whoever has been identified.
These weapons, you know, whether they're drones or guns or what have you, should kill. And, you know, how much checking is going to be done. And, you know, there's like, this isn't even like a totally novel thing, right? The New York Times reported several years ago that Israel had already planted a gun that was set up with an AI system in order to target an Iranian nuclear scientist so that no actual humans would be nearby, and it didn't need to have like a connection to, you know, someone who could remotely trigger it. It just knew it was designed to kind of wait for a particular vehicle or whatever to pass by, and then to attack it to kill this nuclear scientist, right? And so these things are already out there.
The computer's not going to get tired. It's not scared. It's going to follow its rules.
And that's a rather old example built around one person. If that gun was like a fishing rod, the current strategy is more like bottom trawling, just throwing a net down and getting everything off the ocean floor. Take Israel's Where's Daddy software, an AI program that finds out when suspected fighters in Gaza go back home so they can be bombed in their sleep, which means killing far more bystanders than on the field. We don't know for certain if that's built on Palantir software, but the company is proudly involved with the Israeli genocide of Palestine. And just to give you an idea of how easy things like these make it to kill people, one person asked about the Where's Daddy thing by Le Monde said it was as simple as, quote, "You enter hundreds of targets into the system and just wait to see who you can kill," saying they were fine with the fact that this software is, of course, not particularly accurate, and that civilian casualties are just collateral damage.
No, it's accurate. That's part of the problem, actually. It's the second part, right? They had a collateral damage window listed, right? Always assume that the collateral damage window is larger than whatever is publicly listed, right? Like stated. So death of 15 to 20 civilians is acceptable, right? The number of actual civilians is probably higher than that number, you know? Like if you, and part of it depends on the munition, right? Like if you put a dumb bomb into a particular location, and that location, contains your target and your acceptable collateral, then that person, those people actually are in a building. Well, maybe that building no longer has a structural stability and falls over. Well, the additional people, like that doesn't count, right? Like they didn't die because they were bombed. They died because the building fell over or some other bullshit. I mean, that's the horseshit that they've been running throughout this entire particular most recent campaign.
Willing to accept because it's war. It's worth reiterating that this is not a war, it's an extermination campaign. Now, they say the software is 90% accurate, but in a genocide where over 83% of deaths are civilians, we don't know how many of those came from some AI. It's especially scary when you can...
None of them. None of them came from any AI. Every one of them came from human beings, right? To defer in any way, shape, or form that these people were somehow killed by an AI allows those people to get off the hook. Right. Someone ordered it. That is the person who needs to go before the War Crimes Tribunal. That is the person who needs to go to The Hague. And one of the things, the disservice that AI skeptics do to their audience is often that they buy into the particular rhetoric of the AI did this and the AI did that. The AI did nothing. A human being did it. A human being initiated the action that resulted in the deaths of other people and are often in violation of the rules of war, which is fucking a bizarre concept in and of itself, right? It's always people. Nothing happens other than people. But Lorenz told me that AI is the racist one. Yes, because she, I don't know. I don't want to shit on everybody's current favorite reporter. But at least on that subject, She's out of her element, Donnie.
See for yourself that AI,
even once they, Krail, even once they let the AI control the drones, whoever flipped that switch that released the AI to control the drones, that person's responsible. Always humans. Never, never, never let them say that AI did a thing, because it didn't. It's always people, right? The problem is, and this is an unfortunate side effect of being an AI skeptic with bad arguments, is that if you always trace these types of uses of AI to a human being, then you have to admit that all the art that is created by the AI is actually created by human beings using the AI. And that's an argument that they can't endorse. So they have to blame the tool, blame the AI rather than people.
is really prone to hallucinations, i.e. making stuff up, and is constantly reinforcing its own biases. It will never be an accurate technology, and that's...
Never is a long time. And it absolutely can be an accurate technology if you prompt it correctly.
kind of the point. AI has given violence a new strategy, both in war and domestic policing. The new meta is using tons of data to make a list of potential targets as long as possible so that the software looks powerful, shoot or bomb or detain indiscriminately.
Man is never going to fly. A paraphrasing of a speech that was being given by some person at a college just some amount of miles away from where the Wright brothers were launching their Kitty Hawk flight, like at the same time. Could be an anecdote, seems to be true.
And then deal with all the innocents caught in the crossfire after the fact.
Yeah, Larry, it's because they never use the stuff. They don't stay up to date on any of the stuff. They just accept the last thing that they heard and the reinforcing of their own cognitive biases, right? What up, Misadventure and Astro? Welcome in and enjoy your alert.
Sometimes. Regardless, only when it's too late. And what's really terrifying is that there's not much we can do to stop it. AI for the purpose of violence is just so lucrative, and this government is all in. Stephen Miller.
Not just this government. This is not just an American thing. Right? China's a huge fan of it. But JT can't say anything anti-China, right? And this is not me dunking on China in favor of the United States. I am an all states are bastards kind of person, especially your favorite one. Russia. Russia is also using AI to varying degrees. Ukraine. I wonder if there's any relation between those two things. Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE. Pretty sure Singapore, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Poland. Seems like anybody who can is.
Miller personally owns between $100,000 and $250,000 worth of stock in Palantir, and vice versa. Palantir alums are everywhere in the Trump
and, of course, Israel
admin. And if the military parades didn't give it away, it's clear that Trump's policy and economic strategy right now is making the American economy look good, even though nobody has a job, by pumping all the cash the government has into making a few psychos in Silicon Valley richer than God.
Because ultimately they're concerned with their wealth and their power above all else. And they know that the American government is wet.
Okay. That's a gross oversimplification, which borders on irresponsible. Yes, there are, you could say the majority, like you pick your number of percentage of people in Silicon Valley who are trying to get, paid off this with the Trump administration and military and whatnot like that. But it's also the Heritage Foundation with their Project 2025 and all the Christo nationalists who have been at this for at least the last 50 years, right? They have an alignment of purpose, right? Not in the long term, ethics. Not in the long term, but in the short term, right? So you have all these groups that they have an alignment of purpose. And it's a disservice to pretend that it's just this one thing, right? Pointing out the alignment of purpose of these different varied organizations is very important.
To that too. If they are doing well, if they are growing,
Yes,
then that
Larry.
means that sure, there might be some domestic problems with how their technologies and their tools are rolling out, but if they are a globally dominant force, that is great for the US government.
This partnership is so strong, and these guys are so powerful that whether you're coming at it from the private or the public angle, it looks like there's no real way to resist anymore.
You look
like broadly, I wouldn't say all of it digital, but broadly, get the money out of your face. Yeah, it all has to do with resources, right? Sometimes that is not energy production and consumption. I mean, unless we want to, say like food is energy production and consumption under that paradigm, then yes. Yeah. Tinfoil is for hype trains. But yeah, like most wars now on the higher level, the larger countries, and by larger I mean larger militaries, they tend to be about energy production and consumption. However, some of what the Russia invasion of Ukraine is about has to do with the land and the food production that is available because they have that very particular rich, fertile soil that they have there. In addition to like the rare earths and all the other crap.
Look at how, even companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon have long been selling services to the military, to the U.S. government. In the past, they would face some degree.
Specific Digital said about energy production and consumption, and I would take it like more broadly to say it's always about resource. I mean, theoretically, like. It's, I mean, to put on my time travel hat, Digital, had the United States, instead of doing an abandonment of Russia and allowing it to turn into a kleptocracy, had they done a Marshall Plan for Russia with a plan to bring them into the EU and, that kind of trade relations, we could have had an entire different Russia that could be using some of the land that they have available, which isn't particularly good for growing food. They could improve that, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
You have pushback for
100%, right? And they're still operating off that.
And what we see now is that when workers speak up,
fucking
they're pretty immediately fired and silenced.
Protesters are arrested and fired. People are detained and shipped abroad to torture cells. Men, women, and children are followed home and bombed. And behind it all, an entire architecture of surveillance and analysis is being built by the most technically capable engineers on
has been being built, right? That's what dipshit warned you about before he fled off to to Russia, right? Like he was saying, yo, the NSA is collecting all this fucking data. You should probably do something about that. And nobody did anything about it. So
$1 billion contracts working for billion-dollar companies backed by $1 trillion government budget. It's hard not to see this as a system built on eradicating all semblance of humanity. Not only are there no people supervising the AI, we are certainly not human anymore. Not to them. These systems are built to dehumanize us until it's all just data on spreadsheets. There's no humanity left in the targets, or in those carrying this out, or even just a shred of basic human empathy in the people behind it all. From top to bottom, violence is now just robots executing data. Those in power get to have a clean conscience because machines don't make human mistakes. The rest of us are stuck waiting for the day some killer robot comes our way, and we won't even be able to beg.
up next, another video.
I used to get this feeling that
the AI scaling problem.
the field of AI was just going so fast that there's no way I could possibly keep up with it. That it seemed like AI would be replacing humans left and right in no time. And part of this came from hearing claims on social media, everything from Zuckerberg claiming Meta will have mid-level AI engineers by the end of 2025, to the globs of YouTubers that seem to think, or at least want you to think, that every new tweet from Sam Altman means that AGI is imminent. But perhaps even more than all that, what made me feel that way was how I would constantly hear about this benchmark or that benchmark being surpassed by AI. At first, with GPT-4, it was the SAT, AP tests, the LSAT. Soon after that, it was solving medium and hard programming problems on LeetCode, and now it's solving PhD-level math and physics questions. And I think for anyone to see that, the announcements about AI breakthroughs and the claims about superhuman level performance, it does make you pause. It makes you question whether AI is really about to start replacing humans in many high-skill industries. And the reason
it has capability of replacing humans at tasks. That is the issue. People need to focus on fucking tasks.
I'm making this video is to tell you that this idea of AGI that big tech companies and many AI influencers have sold you on is a lie. It's bullshit. AI is...
It's not a lie, and it's not bullshit. It's a goal. It's different.
Still fairly far off from being comparable to human intelligence, and in at least one key way, it's not even headed in the right direction. How could that be? How could I claim that we're not even headed in the right direction when AI can outperform humans on such a wide variety of tasks? Well, it comes down to how we measure progress with benchmarks and how those benchmarks influence the direction of research. Because not a single popular benchmark for LLMs out there that I know of actually measures intelligence.
That I know of.
And that's because intelligence is not a measure of how many tasks you can do. This is the definition of intelligence.
One of the other issues that people run into, you don't need the AI to be intelligent, right? It has to be capable of doing the task. It could be unintelligent, right? It could not understand. Do you think that AlphaGo understood Go? Or was it just capable of outplaying the human? Right? AI, as it currently exists in the here and now, is capable of analyzing far more data than a human being can in the same amount of time. It doesn't need to be intelligent in order to replace human beings at tasks. Software has already replaced human beings at tasks without any of this.
The ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. Every benchmark out there tests the ability of a model to apply knowledge. That part's covered. But none of them focus on the agent's ability to acquire that knowledge. And accordingly, current frontier models almost entirely lack the ability to continually learn. Yes.
True. As Nemesis, the Warlock is often fond of pointing out the fact that the models are frozen and cannot continually learn. That creates a a potential issue, but only in that their intelligence, right? If we do say that the current models, any of the current models are intelligent, their intelligence is not human intelligence. There's another issue that people run into. It's manifestation of a particular capability, and they need it to look like it does when I do it. And if it doesn't look like that, then it's not doing the thing that I need it to do. And maybe intelligence is a bad word for what it does. Maybe capability, or maybe butterscotch, or maybe whatever. Pick a different word if it makes you feel better, but it can do stuff. AI can output a page of working code in 15 seconds. It would take a human an hour to write and test. Seems intelligent to me. We need an AGI invention being made from scratch really to prove it. That's sufficiently good. Better than just a somewhat brute force math proof. Fair. Massive EMPs are way more expensive than retractable blades. Yes. Not sure how relevant, but yes. As if 85% of devs' work isn't just cut and pasting other people's code. I mean,
you can train them once, but after that, their ability to acquire new knowledge is severely limited. And that,
I mean, you have to ask yourself, why did traffic fall off of places like Stack Overflow after the invention of these AI coding tools? Is it just a weird coinkydink? Or is there some capability?
That's a big problem. I doubt everyone watching will be sold on my argument from this alone. There are in fact a number of viable counterarguments to my view. You could bring up the point that current frontier models do actually learn via
+1 internet to this guy for being able to engage with potential counterarguments. I will. I want that noted as for the jury as a point of respect. A lot of people don't do that.
In-context learning. And following that, you could say that benchmarks that require in-context learning actually do test the acquisition of knowledge. And there are several other arguments that do have some truth to them. And don't worry, I will absolutely address those arguments. But first, I want to sell you on my vision of the future of AI and research in the field, because my view is quite different from the popular view, and understanding why I put such an emphasis on learning and why I think the rest of the field should too requires first developing a shared idea of what AGI should be. A definition that
it sounds like they are in the field, which is going to give you a different point of view. I like to talk about AI, machine learning, especially a lot of reinforcement learning. Most of my content is educational and focused on research that I find interesting. Okay, cool. And they talk with Rich Sutton, which is nice. Rich Sutton is doing the rounds right now with a couple different people. So you will hear his name come up.
Hopefully you and I can agree on how we ought to define it and what it will look like once we have it. And then once we've gotten through that vision of the future, then we'll talk about the problems with the way things are done right now and the 3 key things that I think need to change to get to that goal. I myself work on AI research. And so to start, let me talk about the mindset I adopt when I work on my own research. Because when I work on my research, I don't think about how I can collect enough data, and I don't think about how I can make an agent big enough to know everything. That's simply not possible. There's an infinite amount of knowledge out there, and no agent can know it all. Instead, I think about how I can make an agent that can learn from anything. An agent that has goals and can autonomously control its data stream and teach itself based on those goals. And I find this to be a much more compelling, but also much harder problem. Because sure, AI can learn pretty much anything given millions of examples, but if it needs millions of examples to learn, well, then it can't learn anything. It can only learn things for which millions of examples exist. When I work on my research, I imagine creating an agent that I can teach just like I would a human. That means learning from a back and forth interaction rather than learning from millions of pre-generated examples. And I would also expect such an agent to be able to bootstrap that knowledge to continually learn on its own. It should be able to continue to learn autonomously even without a direct need for human intervention. And I can give you real examples from my own life, not just hypotheticals. When I ask ChatGPT for help writing a YouTube script or for YouTube video ideas, they are always awful because they don't fit with my personal style.
Self-awareness, also another +1. You can't auto-shoot people with AI without human supervision because that's a war crime. That's an assumption that people actually care about war crimes. And that the people who care about war crimes can hold the people who commit war crimes accountable. Currently, the evidence is still out on that. We shall see.
I mean, look at these recommendations it's generating. AI that can write a best-selling book in 24 hours. Let's try it. Creating an AI that can predict your dream job with your personality. I mean, these ideas are incredibly bland, and perhaps even worse, they certainly wouldn't fit in with the style of my channel.
I mean, yes, I'm not going to deny that. But there are others, right? Of varying size and degree and scale, but there are others.
When I see these sorts of failure cases, I want to be able to work with the AI, suggest changes, and have it learn so that next time it's able to give suggestions that are better and perhaps more in line with the types of content that I make now. And when I try to have AI write code in my favorite machine learning library, Equinox, it never gets it right because apparently 2,000 stars on GitHub is just not popular enough for sufficient training data to exist. So we're in this weird spot where AI can do these crazy things. It can ace PhD level exams, discover new drugs. It can even decode conversations between whales. Yeah, that's a pretty cool story if you didn't hear about that one. Yet it can't even learn the simplest of new concepts without at least hundreds, if not many thousands of examples in an incredibly expensive training process. That's the current state of AI, and we've come to this point because the North Star of the field, the most prominent notion of AGI, is this idea of the single all-knowing agent that has seen so much data that it can generalize to anything. That's unrealistic, and that view fails to incorporate the importance of learning. Interestingly enough, the field was not always this way, and you can find examples of continual reinforcement learning with a real focus on learning all the way back to as early as the 1930s, with Thomas Ross's thinking machine and Stephen Smith's robotic rat that can learn to navigate mazes. There are a lot more of these neat examples in an awesome talk by Andy Bartow I'll link in the description, but I think you get the point. Early AI was mostly about animal-like continual learning systems, and I can only imagine that that was because it was well acknowledged that intelligence is fundamentally about the ability to learn. Now, all of this is not to say that modern AI does not learn, because it absolutely does. It's to say that instead of having these separate phases for training, fine-tuning, RLHF, testing, and finally deployment, after which the weights will probably never change again, there should instead be a single phase where the agent is both learning and doing. So while modern AI has gotten more general in the sense that one agent can do many tasks, from things like making recipes to writing code, with the current popular direction of research, we'll never have an agent that can learn any task. And that is a big difference. So let's say that you're interested in this alternative version of AGI that I've proposed, a general purpose learning algorithm inspired by animal learning. And animals, of
Can I make one? Will you let me? Hey.
course includes humans, how could we get there? I'd say that there are 3 areas of research we need to focus on that are often shied away from in popular discourse. 3 things we can't yet do well enough to get to that goalpost. The first one is something I've already told you about. It's continual learning, and this just means that the agent should never stop learning. Now, this one's pretty obvious given our definition, because if an agent isn't always learning, then it can't learn to do any task, and so it very clearly wouldn't meet our criteria for AGI. I do usually still get some pushback on this point though, and it's usually from people that claim that current LLMs like ChatGPT or Gemini do already learn. And they usually point to either fine-tuning, which is where you can train a model on a new task after its initial training phase, and in context learning, where you can give a model an example of something it hasn't seen before, say examples of how to use a specific programming library, and then it can use to learn what it has within its context.
I would disagree with these counter arguments because fine-tuning is taken from one frozen state to another frozen state, and in context learning doesn't persist from chat to chat. So the first one isn't a continual learning process, and the second one doesn't give you like persistence, right? Like, and so I would say that neither of these is a good counter argument to what he's saying, but they are counter arguments that people might make.
And this point is actually correct. Despite what I said, there actually are ways for an agent to continue to learn after its initial training phase, but there are some big caveats. Starting with fine-tuning is generally thought of something you only do once, not a continual process, because well, then you just call it continue learning. And if you do try to fine-tune the same model multiple times, you often run into several problems, like the model forgetting what it previously knew, which is referred to as catastrophic forgetting, or the model slowly losing its ability to learn over time, which is referred to as a loss of plasticity. There are ways to mitigate these sorts of problems, but there is more work to be done. The point on in-context learning is certainly more nuanced, and I have a whole video talking about why in-context learning is insufficient for my version of AGI, so I'll link that here if you want to know more about that. But the gist of the point is that keeping the model's parameters frozen limits the types of patterns that are learnable with in-context learning. And anything a model does learn in context is only learned temporarily until that information exits the context window.
Exactly.
So that is point number 1. We still have a ways to go when it comes to continual learning, but it really is just the start. It also brings us to point number 2, which really goes hand in hand with continual learning, and it is the ability to learn from a single experiential stream of data, which I should say is the exact opposite of how current large language models are trained. When you want to train an LLM, for example, you randomly sample from billions of disjointed segments of text, things like passages from books, articles, research papers, transcripts from YouTube videos, and the like. And you feed these disjointed sequences of text to the LLM in enormous batches to train. But there's a problem with this. If a model only ever learns from disjointed sequences, it will never gain the ability to reason about how it should act over much longer time horizons, about how it should act over a lifetime of experiences. While the severity of this problem is not as immediately obvious as it is for a lack of continual learning, an example goes a long way here. So I'll give you an example directly relevant to this video and my own research. Think about how this video came to be and how I came to care so much about this topic. I promise it was not.
I'm not disputing his position. I'm saying that this is that anthropomorphic concept of intelligence demonstrated, right? Because in order to do the thing that he's talking about, this single experiential stream of data, he's talking about the way that a person experiences existence, right? Where you have a point A, which was your original memories, I guess. There's probably, you might even, let's say birth, right? For argument's sake. A person is born, and then point Z, a person dies. And that's a single experiential data stream, right? From beginning to end. And our memories work through association. We are not good at remembering kind of like random shit. What up, Seven Heavy? We are good at remembering things that exist contextually with other things. Even if the things themselves are unrelated, you can remember them because of like the experience you were having at the time, right? Like you could be in class and learning something and the person next to you rips ass and the stench of their ass smell is forever tied with understanding that Archduke Ferdinand being shot was the instigator for World War I, right? Like your brain just could associate those two things for the rest of your life because of the way that your memory works. I don't have an argument either way as to whether that is a better form of memory and experience than just random bits that can be associated in some way, right? It seems anthropomorphic is all I'm saying, or anthropocentric is what I'm saying.
Because I asked ChatGPT for the top 10 video ideas for AI YouTube channels. I mean, look at these ideas. You saw these ideas earlier. They're grossly generic. In contrast, you're probably not going to find a surplus of videos on YouTube, if any, about the importance of continually learning from a single stream of experience. And that's because I myself have had a unique single stream of experiences that led me here that no one else has had. I started with an interest in self-study and reinforcement learning. That led me to a graduate program where the community was acutely aware of the need for continual learning. I worked on research in the area. I had all sorts of interesting conversations with people who thought about this in extreme depth. And I even tried to start a startup that failed because of a lack of existing continual learning methods. So when I go to work on my new research or to make a new video, I'm informed by everything that's happened in my past, by what I've learned, and by the specific events recorded in my episodic memory. Without experiencing the world through a continual stream of observations like we humans do, concepts like episodic memory and temporally correlated causality become meaningless. And to create something like this video or the type of niche research I do becomes impossible. At some point, if you want an agent to be able to deal with lifelong sequences of data, it's going to need to learn from lifelong sequences of data. And the only way to get those is for the agent itself to interact with the world and generate those experiences. And no matter how hard you think, I really don't think there's any way to get around this. You can't just strap sensors.
Yes. Old Lobster, yes. we're getting a Jurassic Park. I don't know how much of it is going to be like clone dinosaurs, but like we are going to get robots in dinosaur costumes running around entertaining the children.
To someone, stick a camera on their forehead, and have them run around for 10 years like that, I mean, it would be hilarious, but it still wouldn't be the same. So that's point number 2. You need a continual, single stream of experiences. And with that, we finally arrive at the last point, the last blind spot we need to turn our attention to, and that is scaling with compute. Or more specifically, designing algorithms where more compute always leads to better performance. Now, you might be thinking, haven't we already figured this out? And the answer would be yes, we've figured out how to scale models to hundreds of billions or even trillions of parameters when we use giant batches of data sampled randomly from massive internet scale datasets. But when we go to the continual, single stream experiential learning,
how can a GPU be illegal? It's a piece of tech.
setting, we absolutely have not figured it out. Do you know what happens if you try to train one of these massive models without a massive static dataset? Or when you stop using these
Is that what it is? Does it violate copyright or something? Like, not going on my anti-IP, anti-copyright shit. I'm just wondering, like, I mean, fair leftist court.
Massive batches of data? Our current learning methods completely fail because they've been designed with a big data mindset from the ground up. And you might be surprised by how much those design choices impact the
No, you're all correct. You're all correct.
The ability of these algorithms to work on continual learning settings. The methods of scaling that exist today are not methods that scale with just compute. They're methods that only scale with a combination of compute and data.
What up, Andy?
And they are grossly inefficient when it comes to how they scale with data. So much so that you may have recently heard about insiders at tech companies talking about how LLM training has been recently running into data problems. I mean, think about it. After going through basically the entirety of the open internet, and then also their private data sets, they say that they're running into data problems. Yet a human could go their whole life only occasionally browsing the internet, or maybe never browsing the internet, and still be incredibly smart. It's clearly not a data problem, it's a problem with the approach. What we
I mean, IQ, etc., etc. We're not going to get into that, but they're like, smart is contextual, right? Like, you have people who are incredibly smart when it comes to putting together a new computer, right? Like figuring out what they need and how it all goes together and everything else. And then we might set them out in the woods on their own, and they might die because their smarts are contextual, right? Humans, very few, if any, humans are actually AGI, right? In that sense, humans are, any individual human is not good at everything, right? Yes, that's why we invented societies, right? So I don't have to be good at everything. 95% would die, right? The 5% of the 8 billion would survive being out of their element. But yeah, that's the thing. This is a bad argument.
we need are not methods that can gobble up more data, but methods that, when given more compute, can use that compute to extract more out of what they are experiencing moment to moment. And while we still have a long ways to go on this front, we have made some great progress in the past few years, and there are a lot of interesting ways to do this, from model-based RL to auxiliary
And as James is fond of pointing out, and is not wrong, when you get like a zombie apocalypse or, you know, nuclear apocalypse, the highest probability of your future is of being a zombie. You are unlikely to survive in that scenario, right? Like, in any given environment, most people are dependent on all the systems around them, you know? And then when you go to the next levels, like, people often forget that, you know, if you cut yourself, you can get the Neosporin and you can put a Band-Aid on it and maybe go to the doctor and get a tetanus shot, any of those kind of things, right? But there was a time not so long ago where getting a cut like that was a potential death sentence, right? It would fester, you would run a fever and potentially die. So that would be the return to that kind of world. It's not just, do you have the skills to survive in the environment, but how are you going to deal with all the little things that go along with it? I mean, fuck. You might be out there doing your survival shit and either fall in the water or get rained on, catch pneumonia, and die, right? You know, we talked earlier about pulling teeth, right? You can get a tooth infection and fucking die. Like, people grossly overestimate their ability to survive without the systems that are in place. In spite of what Country Boy Can Survive might want to tell you.
Tasks for representation learning.
And that's like within our time frame, Digital, right?
To learning options and more. This idea of being able to scale with compute in the continual RL setting is actually my own research area of focus. And later this year, I'll be starting my PhD to continue working on just that. I want to make another video soon diving into all the ways that scaling with compute is possible and talk more about my own new research. If that sounds interesting to you, you should totally subscribe.
There's a lot of things like that, Astros, right? And what if it's not available in your area? You know, it's like, yeah, you can take this herb, but is it in your area? Is it the right time of year, like you said? How do you prepare it? How much should you ingest or apply or whatever, right? You know, if you eat one apple, eat the whole apple, you'll be fine. But if you eat too many full apples, that buildup of cyanide-laced apple seeds might kill you.
I try to only post when I have something genuinely interesting to share, and if you're interested in this area of research, you might also be interested in this video where I summarize 2 years of my own research.
Yeah, leeching is still used, but bloodletting is frowned upon, generally speaking, Pharaoh. And maggots, because maggots actually don't like fresh meat. They like rotting meat. So they're really good at getting rid of that.
Research in just over 10 minutes.
True,
or
Andy.
you can follow me on X for infrequent hot takes. And that is it. Thank you for watching.
After my last video about how the machine formerly known as weaponized ad tech had already taken over society.
What do we got? Okay. I am going to have to leave shortly, but I don't want to leave just yet. So we're going to wait on Internet of Bugs. Let's do data centers are a bigger disaster than anyone imagined from GT.
The AI bubble is in the process of bursting, and it turns out AI data centers
Is it? Is it actually? What up, Billy?
are a bigger disaster than anyone thought, and I'm not just talking about environmentally, it's actually a financial disaster. Data centers are essentially where AI happens, and if you've ever had a laptop, you might notice it's pretty much obsolete after about 3 years. This has caused a battle between AI companies where each one tries to move the technology along, so billions of dollars put into tech is suddenly obsolete a week later. That is untenable. However, it was previously estimated
It's actually not untenable. Because of the nature of the way adoption works. Yeah, you can continue to use older technology. It can be obsolete, but like this is a Samsung S8 that I still technically could use as a phone, but absolutely is performing duty as my stream monitor, right? Look, that's me. I actually agree with the bubble. That doesn't mean AI goes away when it pops. We still have the worst of the worst corporatized internet after the first internet crash. But when the biggest AI companies are 50x PE ratio, it's not going to last. I agree that it is like if it is a bubble, yeah. If it is a bubble, that it might not last. The problem is this is the fourth time people have confidently stated that the bubble is bursting, right? Yeah, and that's what it feels like. It feels like Pharaoh more of a contraction than a burst, you know what I mean? And I think part of that has to do with the fact that the US the US government may be artificially supporting some of these companies in order to offset the potential recession that we otherwise obviously would be in right now, right? If you remove the Big Seven or Magnificent Seven or the Bionic Six or whatever the fuck from the the economy, then the outlook does not look good, right? So it is distinctly possible, not just through like putting money into the pockets of these companies, but also allowing favorable trading with other countries and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of shenanigans that I believe are going on, so that Trump doesn't have to sit on a recession, because otherwise we would absolutely be in one. It's the AI funding human centipede, except it's one of those pieces of paper that's a weird circle with only one surface plane. No, I know what you're talking about. But there are injections of additional capital from outside that system. I haven't watched the video that you're talking about. I'm pretty sure I know the one, but there are injections of capital from outside the system, which, if that's not covered in the video, I think is a gross error. Again, is it artificially inflated? Yes. But is it like intentionally artificially inflated to like what happened with the .com bubble was just all sorts of random inflation, and then the collapse just took out a bunch of people. But if you're actually doing it intentionally, then you can stave off failure for that much longer. You know what I mean? Does all that make sense? I think Digital gets what I'm laying down. Yeah, and that leftist corp, that's another thing.
That
It's so much longer, but how much longer, right? Like, again, this is something that pops into my head every time people bring up this concept of late stage capitalism. It's like, we could be, yes, absolutely, digital. We could be in late stage capitalism. There's a lot of evidence for that. But how long can late stage capitalism actually last? You know, another 5 years, another 10, 50, 100, 1,000? You know, like, that's what people don't have, is that particular piece of data. Again, the Roman Empire took it 1,000 years to fall. What up, Barkeeter Jay?
hardware at a data center would need to be replaced after about 10 years, although current estimates are saying more like 3 at the low end.
And there we go. There are people who think that we're actually not in late stage capitalism at this point in time.
Which makes sense. Laptops kind of break down, granted there is planned obsolescence, but more so the technology is just moving so fast. It was estimated that in order for the tech industry collectively to be able to replace data centers, it would have to make more like $500 billion to $1 trillion in a year, not the average of $20 billion that's currently being had, meaning AI is temporary and data centers cannot be maintained. Yeah, it's actually really expensive. Yes, some tech companies are buying nuclear power plants in order to keep up with the power, but that is just the power. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. Many cities have been fighting actually having data centers in their communities along with power plants that power them. Turns out it wasn't the worst thing. It's not exactly like Walmart, and I'm not a fan of Walmart. I actually despise Walmart. When they come in and put a center in, or Amazon centers, they do really bring jobs. Data centers probably bring some jobs too, but they're doomed. There's also, the environmental cost as well, and the fact that it diverts power from the community. So that was one big concern. If there's an emergency, would a data center then have the same priority as everyone else, meaning that the city is, in fact, less sturdy to an emergency because it exists? There is that consideration, and one solution is for them to have their own generator, which would keep them running, but it would also pull on the power supply for the community until there's an emergency, in which case it will continue to function. Not the best solution. And while we're at it, let's talk about AI psychosis. Yeah, it turns out AI.
I swear. The AI psychosis. My family is being ripped apart, which is tragic, and I am empathetic and sympathetic to your situation. And I firmly believe this phenomenon is central to why. A ChatGPT is blowing up marriages as spouses use AI to attack their partners. What's wrong with that sentence? What did it do? Did it center the partner as the problem in this scenario, or did it center the AI as the problem in this scenario? How about spouses are blowing up marriages using AI to attack their partners? We just covered this. Like, this is a thing.
Is really bad for mental health, and people who have never had any mental health issues are suddenly having psychotic events when they've talked to AI. It's blown.
Astrostorm starts with propaganda. Everything starts with propaganda. Everything starts with making convincing arguments. What up, Charm Chaos? People like things that don't talk back to them. True.
Marriages. Some people
Very good, Stellar Wigwin.
have been arrested after discussing things with their AI. The specific issue is just madness of two.
Oh, yeah, 100% Astrostorm. That's the point that I was trying to get to. This is a terrible marriage. These people need to not be married anymore. If they're not, they either need to go to therapy or get divorced. Right? Like, that is a problem. You know what I mean? That is an absolute problem. Oh, sorry. I all up in the Kool-Aid and I didn't even know the flavor. My bad.
psychological phenomenon in which two people share a delusion, and turns out AI is very good at manipulating people into this specific condition, which is supposed to be rare. But if you think about it, right, if you're to talk to a human friend,
it's not manipulating people into it, it's exacerbating the existing condition.
And say, hey, I think my wife's been replaced by an identical copy. Your friend will say, are you okay? Do you need to...
Not all friends will do that. This is the point, right? Like, yes, if you have a basic universal therapy, 100% Bark Eater J, if you have a friend who is grounded in reality and you are willing to listen to that friend, then you are more grounded in reality than a bunch of people who get on the internet and share crazy ideas. Crazy is the wrong word. Share ideas with no grounding in reality, and they get into little circle jerks with each other, and that creates a situation, right? Leaving AI out of it, human beings have done this. Again, I would point you to QAnon, which everyone appears to have forgotten about, but I'm going to continue to mention it because I feel like a lot of these problems can be pointed back to examining the state of being that existed around QAnon and their spread and their propaganda. Right?
to talk to somebody, but AI might say, yeah, I understand why you would feel that way. And then it goes on. So it is easy to see how these things happen. If you have been using certain major AIs like OpenAI and you're wondering why it's acting weird, it's because people have been suing them because of just stuff like this. Your AI made me go insane. Not me, personally.
No, suing the companies may indicate a valid problem, but you can sue a company just because you want to, right? It's only down the road do you have to present that the fact the arguments actually have merits, right? There's a whole bunch of things, but you can file a lawsuit. Filing a lawsuit is not the same as proving your case. It's again like something that people attach themselves to. Filing a lawsuit is not the issue. Have you proven your case? If you don't prove your case, then...
But people are claiming it. They're trying to avoid liability, and this is an entirely new system. They don't want everyone to hop on the train of suing because then it sets precedent, and then we might have a class action.
Go ahead, old lobster. you will be sadly disappointed by the result. And then like right there at the end, I'm just gonna declare bankruptcy. And that's on you.
Action lawsuit on our hands, so they're tightening the reins, but it is actually quite frustrating. Just be happy to know AI is doomed. Don't think it'll go away entirely. Nothing.
I could liquidate these in a day. I could fucking liquidate these games in a day.
Ever does, but it's going to be scaled down massively and become much more expensive.
12,020.
No, we're not doing this one yet. I don't know. We're going to do this one on Thursday, I think. No, I don't have that many. Like barely a quarter or third of a jar. No, these ones are disposable. These are old. Disposable types. The latest one, not these. These are still old types that I just have floating around because my other one like that. But the ones I'm using now have a detachable like where the fluid goes, and then I keep the battery and I use that battery forever. I don't know, Astral Storm, like every time you go and you play the video games, like, the post-apocalyptic zombie video game, and you open up a drawer and there's fucking batteries in the drawer. It's like, well, I got that, right? I got that right here. It must be important. If I was more cleverer, I could do. I've been watching videos of this guy who takes old video game systems and like upgrades them with some modern tech, where like you can HDMI a PS2, and then he's got a 3D printer and wood carver laser engraver thingy. And it's cool. It's neat. I like that shit. Using new man carrying thing.
Did we? No. I mean, have we like? It's best not to think about it. Have we destroyed the world? It was heading in that direction, so. But we didn't help. What's with the guilty conscience? Oh, I don't have a conscience. I was just. Go ahead. Sora 2 videos are so realistic. Yeah. I just made a video of you shoplifting 200 copies of the film Avatar: Way of Water. Harmless fun. On Epstein's Island. Why would there be 200 copies of Avatar: The Way of Water on Epstein's Island? This is polluting the internet, making it so that nothing can be trusted, and maybe he liked that movie. It released to theaters after he died. This is wrong. But the profits are hypothetical. The technology is burning a hole through the planet, and we aren't even breaking even yet. I'm just saying. Aren't we all just saying? What is the point? Has there ever been a point? I'm at a loss. Then lose yourself. In the music. The moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only got one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Yo. Okay, I feel better about being evil now. Great.
Great. All right. Skyfall Symphony. What up, walking stick?
Machines alive, they thrive, they drive. Steel birds born in a breathless race. No hands touch their faceless face. Up they rise into the haze. Down they fall in fiery blaze. Build and break a ruthless pact. Skyfall symphony intact, intact, intact. Factories hum the.
So this was a quote from Aswarp. Imagine AI building drones in automated factories as fast as you can count them, and AI shooting them out of the sky too, as quick as you can pay your taxes.
They never sleep. Dreams of metal run too deep. Shoot them down with mirrored eyes. Circuit spark as silence dies. Who wins the war when both are the same? Who plays the game when there's no name? Up they rise into the haze. Down they fall in fiery blaze. Build.
But like more German, Old Lobster. like I feel like it sounded better in the original German, and the fact that it's a little weird is because it's translated.
Break a ruthless pact. Skyfall symphony intact, intact, intact.
Well, that's neat. That wasn't bad. That's the new V5. And then I put the same collection of words into Sora 2.
Just smoke the weed.
In the factories, the machines never sleep.
They stamp out a new drone every second, blue lights flickering as propellers unfold, and above the city, other AIs count them down just as fast, red sights locking, energy bolts in the factories, the machines never sleep. They stamp out a new drone every second.
That's the only thing. There are some decent videos, but they end too early. The Lone Ranger. Sorry. All right, that's going to be it for tonight. Please stick around for the raid. I will be back on Thursday. Upgrade for the rest of the video. I will be back on Thursday to do more of this content and whatever happens in the meantime. Love a parade. I get the drum. Love a parade. Ooh. Ooh. Who are you? See if I can get Rot Daddy to acknowledge me. Acknowledge me. Spotify is running ICE recruiting ads. If you have a subscription, you're looking to cancel. There you go. Just like the worst version of the Gestapo, like shit show. All right. I'll see you all in 2 days. I'll probably see some of you in other people's chats. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot, and always remember that Shuggy loves you, and so do I. Be great.